I found my girlfriend's text to her ex. "I'm just waiting for his inheritance, then I'm yours." I said nothing. I faked a bankruptcy notice and left it on my desk. She left me the next day. Her panic calls started the moment I posted my new house on social media. I, 29M, thought I knew everything about my girlfriend of 3 years until I accidentally saw her phone light up with a text that changed everything. It was a Tuesday evening when she left her phone on my kitchen counter while showering. The screen lit up with a message preview that made my blood run cold. The sender was her ex-boyfriend, and the visible text read something about waiting and inheritance. My hands shook as I picked up the device. What I found in their message thread destroyed 3 years of what I thought was genuine love. She had been telling him she was only with me because my grandfather had left me a substantial inheritance when he passed last year. She detailed how she planned to marry me, wait a reasonable amount of time, then divorce me and take half of everything before running back to him. The messages went back months, filled with her complaints about having to pretend to love me and her excitement about their future together once she got her hands on my money. I sat on my bathroom floor reading through months of deception. She called me boring, said my laugh annoyed her, and even mocked the way I cried when my grandfather died. The ex encouraged her plan, telling her she was brilliant for thinking long-term. They had even discussed specific timelines and legal strategies for maximizing what she could take in a divorce. The worst part was remembering all the times she had seemed so interested in my inheritance. She asked detailed questions about the amount, the investments, whether it was in my name only. I thought she was just trying to understand my financial situation because we were getting serious. Now I realized she was conducting reconnaissance for her heist. That night, she came out of the shower and curled up next to me like nothing had happened. She told me she loved me and asked about my day. I managed to respond normally while my mind raced with plans. I needed to be smart about this. Simply confronting her would only put her on guard and potentially accelerate her timeline. Over the next week, I acted completely normal while secretly consulting with my lawyer and financial advisor. I moved the majority of my inheritance into offshore accounts and family trusts that would be protected in any divorce. Then I crafted the perfect trap. I created a fake bankruptcy notice using online templates and legal language. The document detailed how poor investments and market crashes had wiped out my entire inheritance, leaving me with massive debts to the IRS and creditors. I made it look official with fake case numbers and court seals. The timing had to be perfect. On Friday evening, I left the fake notice prominently displayed on my home office desk where she always snooped through my papers. I told her I was going out with friends and would be back late. When I returned around midnight, the house felt different. She was already in bed, but her breathing seemed forced, like she was pretending to sleep. Saturday morning, she was unusually quiet and kept checking her phone. She asked casual questions about my mood and whether anything was stressing me out. I played the part of someone blissfully unaware their world was about to crumble, chatting about weekend plans and a vacation we had discussed. By Sunday afternoon, she had clearly seen the document. She became increasingly agitated, making excuses to leave the house and having hushed phone conversations in the next room. I caught her photographing the fake bankruptcy notice with her phone when she thought I was outside mowing the lawn. Monday morning, I woke up to find her packing a suitcase. She had tears in her eyes as she told me she needed some space to think about our relationship. She said she felt overwhelmed by how serious things had gotten and needed time to figure out what she really wanted. Her performance was almost convincing, filled with apologies and promises to call me soon. I played the devastated boyfriend perfectly, begging her to stay and work things out. I asked if this was about something I had done wrong, whether we could go to counseling, anything to fix whatever was broken between us. She just shook her head sadly and said she needed time alone. She was gone by Tuesday morning, leaving behind only a few belongings and a note about needing space. I gave her exactly what she wanted, complete silence. No calls, no texts, no attempts to win her back. I knew she expected me to chase her, to beg for another chance, but I did nothing. For 2 weeks, I focused on work and genuinely enjoyed the peace of not having to pretend everything was normal. I hung out with friends who had never really liked her anyway, though they were too polite to say so before. I started a new workout routine and picked up hobbies I had abandoned during our relationship. The revenge phase began 3 weeks after she left. I had been searching for the perfect property, and I found it, a stunning modern house in the most expensive neighborhood in our city. Using funds from my carefully protected inheritance, I made an all-cash offer that was accepted within days. The house was everything she had ever dreamed of. During our relationship, she constantly showed me listings for homes in that exact neighborhood, talking about how someday we would live there together. She had specific fantasies about hosting dinner parties and decorating a home office overlooking the city. This house matched every detail of her Pinterest boards. I hired professional photographers and staged the property beautifully. Then I posted the photos across all my social media accounts with captions about starting a new chapter in my life and being grateful for fresh beginnings. I made sure the posts were public and easily shareable. The reaction was immediate. Within hours, my phone started ringing with her number. I let every call go to voicemail. Her messages started confused and casual, asking how I was doing and mentioning she had seen my posts. When I did not respond, her tone became increasingly frantic. By the second day, she was calling multiple times per hour. Her voicemails revealed everything. She wanted to know how I could afford such an expensive house after losing my inheritance. She demanded to know if I had lied about the bankruptcy. She accused me of hiding assets and threatened to expose me for fraud. The most satisfying voicemail came on Thursday evening. She was crying and practically screaming into the phone about how I had ruined everything. She said she knew I had discovered her messages with her ex and that faking bankruptcy was cruel and manipulative. She called me vindictive and said I had destroyed her life over a few stupid texts that did not mean anything. Her ex started calling too, leaving angry messages about how I had manipulated his girlfriend and destroyed their plans. He accused me of being a psychopath who got off on hurting innocent people. The irony was completely lost on both of them. Update 1. The harassment escalated over the weekend. She enlisted mutual friends to contact me, claiming I was having a mental breakdown and needed help. She told them I was making irrational financial decisions and isolating myself after our breakup. Several friends called expressing concern about my well-being and asking if I needed support during this difficult time. I calmly explained to each friend that I was doing better than ever and showed them screenshots of her messages with her ex. Their concern quickly turned to disgust as they realized what she had been planning. Several admitted they had always felt something was off about her, but could not put their finger on it. She showed up at my old apartment on Sunday night, apparently forgetting I had moved. My former neighbor texted me that a woman was pounding on my door and screaming about inheritance fraud. Building security eventually escorted her away, but not before she made a scene that entertained the entire complex. On Monday, she tried a different approach. She sent a long email apologizing for everything and begging for a chance to explain. She claimed the messages with her ex were just fantasy and that she never intended to actually leave me. She said she loved me and had made terrible mistakes but wanted to work things out. The email was a masterpiece of manipulation, filled with sob stories about her difficult childhood and fears of abandonment. She promised to cut all contact with her ex and suggested couples therapy to rebuild trust. She even offered to sign a prenuptial agreement waiving any claim to my assets if I would just give her another chance. I responded with a single sentence. I know exactly who you are now, and that is all I need to know. Update 2. Her desperation reached new heights during the second week. She somehow obtained my new address and began driving by the house at all hours. My security cameras captured her sitting in her car outside my gate, sometimes for hours at a time. She took pictures of the property and appeared to be conducting surveillance. On Wednesday, she approached me in the parking garage at my office building. She looked terrible. Unwashed hair, dark circles under her eyes, clothes that she had clearly slept in. She cornered me between cars and demanded to know how I could afford the house. I told her my bankruptcy had been resolved more favorably than expected, with creditors accepting reduced payments that allowed me to keep some assets. The explanation was vague enough to be believable while revealing nothing about my actual financial situation. She became increasingly agitated, insisting that the numbers did not add up and accusing me of lying about everything. She said she had consulted with lawyers about my fraudulent bankruptcy filing and that I could face serious legal consequences. I remained calm and suggested she should focus on moving forward with her life instead of obsessing over mine. Security cameras captured our entire conversation, which became important later when she began telling people I had threatened her. She started posting on social media about how I was stalking and harassing her, painting herself as the victim of an abusive ex-boyfriend who could not accept our breakup. Her ex-boyfriend apparently grew tired of her drama and ended their relationship too. This pushed her completely over the edge. She began calling my employer, claiming I had committed financial fraud and was mentally unstable. She demanded they investigate my background and consider whether I was fit for my position. My company's HR department contacted me about the complaints. I provided them with evidence of her harassment, including the voicemails, emails, and security footage of her stalking behavior. I also showed them screenshots of her messages about targeting me for my inheritance. HR was appalled by her conduct and assured me they would handle any future contact from her. Update 3. The final confrontation happened 3 weeks later at a mutual friend's wedding. She approached me during the reception, looking elegant and composed again. She had clearly prepared for this encounter, timing it for a public setting where she expected I would be polite and civil. She asked if we could talk privately about ending our conflict. She suggested we had both made mistakes and should find a way to move forward without all the drama and hard feelings. Her tone was reasonable and mature, designed to make me look petty if I refused her olive branch. I agreed to step outside with her, curious about what new manipulation she had planned. Once we were alone, her mask slipped completely. She demanded to know exactly how much money I actually had and whether the bankruptcy had been fake from the beginning. She revealed that she had been researching my financial history and knew something did not add up. She threatened to expose me publicly and legally if I did not give her some compensation for the emotional damage I had caused her. She said she deserved something after wasting 3 years of her life on our relationship. I listened patiently to her demands and threats. Then I told her about the offshore accounts and family trusts that protected my inheritance from gold diggers exactly like her. I explained that even if she had succeeded in marrying and divorcing me, she would have gotten virtually nothing because my grandfather had been wise enough to structure his estate properly. Her face went through a series of expressions: confusion, realization, fury, and finally defeat. She asked why I had let her waste so much time if I was never a viable target. I told her that I had genuinely loved her until I discovered her true nature, and that everything afterward was simply justice. She slapped me and stormed back into the wedding reception. Within minutes, she was making a scene inside, accusing me of fraud and manipulation in front of all our mutual friends. The bride and groom asked her to leave, and several guests escorted her to the parking lot. That was the last time I saw her in person. She moved to another city shortly afterward, apparently to start fresh somewhere nobody knew about her gold-digging schemes. Her social media posts showed her trying to reinvent herself as a successful, independent woman who had learned important lessons about love and trust. The mutual friends who witnessed her breakdown at the wedding quickly figured out what had really happened. Word spread through our social circle about her inheritance plot and her subsequent harassment campaign. Her reputation was thoroughly destroyed among everyone who knew us both. 6 months later, I received a friend request from her on social media. I looked at her profile briefly and saw she was in another relationship with someone who appeared wealthy based on his photos and lifestyle posts. Some people never learn. I never accepted her friend request, but I did notice she had been checking my social media regularly based on the view statistics on my posts. I continued sharing photos of my beautiful house, my travels, and my genuinely happy life. Each post was a small reminder of what she had lost through her own greed and deception. The experience taught me valuable lessons about recognizing genuine people versus those with hidden agendas. My grandfather's inheritance was meant to provide security and opportunities, not to attract parasites who saw me as a financial target rather than a human being worth loving. Looking back, I am grateful I discovered her true nature before making any permanent commitments. The fake bankruptcy notice was perhaps the best investment I ever made, a small price for avoiding a much more expensive and painful divorce down the road.